Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today is an opportunity for me to discuss the top cars that I've been scouring the internet for. I'm looking at all the different online auction sites like Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P Car Market, the MB Marketplace. I just want to be able to put you in a position where you're going to be able to find the best car. Hopefully I'm able to share that with you because I was able to negotiate some cool cars in my driveway over the years, and I've been able to find certain cars, sight unseen. Some I just like see them on the side of the road and I pull over and I give a cash offer on the spot because I know that if the car lingers any longer, it's going to be taken by somebody else. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I am going to find you the best cars. The first car that I found on the internet was on Bring a Trailer, actually. It's this 1988 560 SL in a beautiful navy and this gorgeous burgundy interior. It has all the great features of everything that was inherent to what was great about a R107. It had that 5.5 liter V8 engine. It had a wonderful Sonrus V8 that made all the right, about 227 horsepower, but during the Malaise era that was enough. A wonderful limited slip differential, and ultimately that's what differentiates the 560 SL from other earlier variants of the R107. The R107 started off as a 450 SL, and ultimately it became a 450 SLC, which was the elongated coupe. Because of catalytic regulations, they went down to a 380 SL, at least in America. The gray market was offering the 500 SL, and people were bringing them in from Europe, taking European delivery and trying to sell them here. And the American dealers were saying that those cars were inferior to the American cars, but we all know that those were lies that were perpetuated throughout the era just so the dealership network in America could sell more cars. But ultimately, the 560 SL came out, and that was the top of the line car. It was only offered from 1986 through 1989 before they made way for the R129, which is already in design development. This 560 SL, in my opinion, compares to mine, but this is only a 5,000 mile example. Unbelievable the fact that it was not driven all those years. This is a beautiful example, perhaps the best in the world. It's like the Lloyds of London perfection, jewelry from Van Cleef and Arpels. It's the ultimate Cartier bracelet. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I mean, you could tell that the leather has minimal creasing. The seats look very plump in nature, so you're gonna get that excellent spring action when you sit into the seat. It comes with everything in perfection, including the hang tags on the spare tire. All the VIN labels are present throughout every single door. The polyglass plastic windows. Now, this is important. Polyglass plastic windows. In most cases, people who have the canvas top, it folds, it's being put on, it's folding back, so then the tightness of the top just doesn't hold over time. In this case, this looks like a brand new top, but you could tell it's the original top because of the stamping, because Mercedes no longer makes the canvas top with the polyglass stamping on the plastic window. Every single aftermarket manufacturer has jumped on the opportunity to make inferior canvas tops. And even if you go through Mercedes-Benz, the Classic Center, they do not offer the polyglass canvas top. It is an impossible, unobtainium item that you cannot find in dealerships across the United States. For this car to have the original canvas top in that level of a condition, actually, it's completely unheard of, because even I replaced the canvas top on my old R107 before I sold it. And that was a good, high quality aftermarket solution because it was made from like the best canvas materials that were available at the time. And this car is highly original. Doesn't have any modified, like the European bumpers, or it hasn't been hacked into. This is a perfect example, and I believe that this car will probably remain in the 5,000 mile range, and it might be driven, but the more we learn about these cars, the more they're driven, the price plummets. So the ones that hold the value with the R107, because so many were made and so many were driven in period, the ones that ultimately hold their value are the ones that remain under the 10,000 mile marker. Second car that I'm about to pick is this beautiful 1988 300 SEW 126 sedan. Yes, this car is finished in a beautiful diamond blue metallic with an exquisite interior that looks like it's right out of a couch living room just stuffed into that back seat. Like it looks like something that you'd want to take your family in or perhaps even be driven in. It's a beautiful car that has all the accoutrements to suggest opulence and luxury, comparing to that of a Rolls Royce Silver Spirit or a Rolls Royce Silver Shadow from the same period. Mercedes was building cars to this quality during this time period. So they needed to compete and they were building the best cars, even if it meant that they were going to lose money in their budget. If you look at the mileage, it may suggest that it's a little bit higher. This car was, it's a sedan. I consider this car to be the coming to America Mercedes because, as you can remember in the film, when the car is making a U-turn on Park Avenue to pick up the King of Zamunda in a beautiful Mercedes with all the flags and the lion emblazoned across his chest because he wanted to show his power and his strength. They didn't choose any other car. They didn't choose a Cadillac. They didn't choose a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. They chose a Mercedes because Mercedes across the world is synonymous with luxury and it's synonymous with power. Yeah, it's the ultimate dictator's car. There's not much more to say. And, to get it at this price point, I think is such a great deal because they still drive really well. If you jump into any of these 1980s Mercedes, the build quality, they built these cars to last forever. There's no plastics and there's no inferior build quality to speak of at all. The only thing that you may have to address is doing the suspension bushings. And even today, you could find those in polyurethane. So then the car will truly last forever. But if you have the right the Mercedes mechanic and the right specialist, then you find one that's rust-free. And this is a great example because this car is a rust-free California car. So to get a rust-free California car on the East Coast, you know that this engine, this inline six, looks beautiful. It looks like you could eat right off of that air cleaner, that air filter. It looks the right part. Like there's so many great details with this car. So I think this is one of the better finds on Facebook Marketplace. I don't think it's going to last that much longer. My third pick for today, the best deal, is a Porsche. Yes, I'm gonna say it, a Porsche. It's a Porsche Cayman, not the 911. It's not a Cayenne. It's not a Panamera, but the entry level Cayman. This is, I think, one of the better deals because if anyone wants to get into a good handling Porsche car, people ask me all the time, like, oh, what's a great car to get started in if you're gonna buy it, if you're gonna buy a Porsche. For me, my entry point into the Porsche world started with the Cayenne because it was a 6-speed manual. It was engaging enough, and I needed a car that would just do everything right. Like it was the ultimate SUV, but the ultimate 6-speed. It's like the 6-speed SUV. It's high up and it's comfortable and it's pretty convenient. It could carry the entire family whenever they visit New York. It was the perfect car for that. It was a perfect car that served the purpose. And then during the pandemic, I increasingly became obsessed with the 911. So then eventually I got into the 911. So the 911 was not the first car that I had in the Porsche world. It was the second car, but the first car was a Cayenne. It was an entry-level Cayenne that just got me into the brand. It got me acclimated to getting to understand the community. I even joined PCA right away. It was a wonderful experience how I got myself in. And then, like I asked people like, oh, well, what if you don't want an SUV and you don't want to go through those different steps and maybe you want something with a little bit more of a ambitious sporting capacity. And for me, I think that the Cayman is the best car for those potentials because the Cayman is a perfectly balanced sports car. I mean, in the 1970s and 1980s, Porsche 912s, I think, were that equivalent. It was the entry-level car that had the air-cooled significance. It could just do everything right. You're sitting in a car where their engine is behind you. You're getting the handling dynamics. You're getting yourself into something that was not as powerful as the 911, but it was still perhaps arguably better balanced because you had less weight off the rear axle. Comparatively, the Porsche Cayman offers that same driving dynamic because With the engine being in the middle, it's more of a truer sports car. I mean, the 911 is inherently imbalanced because the engine is all the way past the back of the rear axle, whereas the Cayman has the engine in the correct position. And even in the Porsche Cup cars, the engine's now in the middle. I mean, they don't tell you that, because you sort of have to do a little bit of research. But the engine is further in the middle, almost like that of a Porsche Cayman or a Boxster. Same chassis. So when we look at the Cayman and what it offers for the price point, this specific one, you're getting a flat six engine. Granted, it's a 2.7 liter flat six, but it's a naturally aspirated motor. But you're getting that performance out of it. You get a really good driving experience, and you're getting the best handling that you could get across almost every car because it is such a lightweight car. It's one of the better cars that you can get for the price. So I saw this and I was like, man, if you have 35, 40 grand laying around and you want to get into a really good sports car, the Porsche Cayman is it. And this one is being offered on Cars and Bids, and it's a safe color. It's not the most exciting color, but for your first Porsche or even a track day Porsche, because I perhaps would buy this, but I just don't have the time and the resources to go racing right now. But this is a really cool car that I really liked, and it definitely caught my attention. So I'll put the link of the three cars that I mentioned in the description below in case you guys want to follow up with the owners of these cars. I have no vested interest in these cars. I'm just looking online, seeing and identifying cars that just caught my attention. I want to make more of these videos because I don't have to leave the comfort of my home and my laptop, and I could just continue painting. So I want to engage other members of the community so they can see other cool cars. And of course, you could find me on the back roads of Bear Mountain or going up to Hawks Nest to do some exciting drives. So I hope I see you guys on the road because that's ultimately what matters. So I'll see you guys on the next episode where I try to find 3 additional cars that capture my attention. I'll try to do these videos as often as possible because, maybe I see a car that you haven't seen. And email me some cool cars that you want to see featured. And maybe it's your car and I will perhaps feature it. Maybe I'll even buy it. I'll see you guys on the next episode, guys. Take care.